Hello viewers and welcome to 2 as 1 Couples. On this program we discuss issues of marriage and matters of man and wife living together in the assignment that God called them to be. And as we continue decoding the things that God has ordained for the man and woman according to the Bible, I have some people in studio who have been tracking with us, who have been following up some of the principles we're talking, and we want to hear their experience, we want to hear their comments, we want to hear their questions, and I will allow them to introduce themselves.
Okay. Yeah. My name is Eric Mulati, married to this beautiful lady for 5 years now.
Yeah. Hello, my name is Nzilari Mulati, aka Mrs. Mulati.
Okay, and
my name is Charles Opio, yes. Aka Charles Opio. Susan Opio.
That's my own there. And we've been married for 32 years. And of course, in the 32 years, we have something, at least we can say something about marriage. We
Absolutely.
have been up and down, and it's not been smooth, all right? Mm-hmm. Some of the principles we discuss are not principles we read, but some of these things are things we experience.
Absolutely.
And some of them we will learn through marriage. Painfully, yes, but when you come out on the other side, you look back and say, surely God is great. We thank God that now we can sit and talk to couples discussing the different matters of what people are going through. We'll allow Eric and Zilani to maybe talk about their experience, some comments, or maybe your response on some of the things that you've been listening to.
Yeah. So for us, one of the things that has really stood out in the discussions that we've been having in 2 as 1 is that the two most important relationships between man and God and between husband and wife. Mm-hmm. And so as a husband, I have been intentional to grow my spirituality with God so that I'm able to even model for my wife what it looks like, and to even grow now my relationship with my wife and increase our friendship.
I think it's important to note what you've just said, that you're intentional. I mean, like, you don't just live your life randomly and hope things will work. You have to be intentional, meaning this is a personal decision that you have made, and this is something that you're following up consciously. You are deliberate in what you're doing. So in your relationship, you're not just waking up one morning and hoping things will work out. Can you hear from Zilani?
Well, I think I'll track more on what he's saying. I think he's talked about the relationship we have with the Father. For me, I'll talk about the relationship I have with him. So that's the second most important relationship. And you know where we are coming from, in the home setup, the key relationship is usually between the parents and the children. So we recently have a newborn. She's 4 months old. And so as we got to engage with God's word and the truth that we've been learning, we learned, you know what? He's my priority in the home ground, and I'm his priority. So yes, we've been blessed with a wonderful daughter. She's amazing, but her place comes after her father. And so I have to be intentional also, because I spend most of the time with her, to also spend time with my husband, to connect with him, to build our friendship together, to just connect. You know, there should be no gap because Brianna has come. She's a blessing. She's not taking away from us. She's bringing onto the table. And so just being intentional. So what we do, we've somehow formed a routine for her. She sleeps early so that we can have time just to engage and just talk. And then even during the day, we're intentional. Just he calls me. I think he does a good job. He keeps calling me. So I also call him back. And just saying, you know what, this is key. We need to develop that.
That is being intentional. And I think that's something when we're talking about the two most important relationships, whereby, like what they're saying, there is that relationship with God. We know that. I mean, that's what supersedes everything. But also, when you're talking about both of them, I mean, you two, intentionally calling each other and keeping each other up to date with what you're doing with each other's lives. Maybe you can talk to us about the relationship.
Wow, I think that's a profound concept. And I mean, you know, you say it so naturally.
Yes,
you know,
I mean, it's just like,
this is what we do. And you know, yes, we did get there. It was a journey. Eventually we did, and it's become a norm. But I think for most couples, that sounds almost absurd. Because we've been so programmed and structured around, it's almost like the marriage relationship is the default point away from every other relationship. The other relationships seem to have priority.
Yeah.
Then eventually, somehow, we need to navigate the marriage one. If we go back into Genesis, you'll find a very interesting thing. If you think about the principle of, and God walked with man in the cool of the day.
Yes.
So the principle is God came into the garden in the cool of the day. And by the way, the cool of the day is not the evening. You know, we have all these ideas that it was hot during the day in the garden,
God
and then
had to come when
God had to come
cool.
when it's not so hot.
Yes.
Yeah, when it's now cool. And I think the principle of cool of the day is a very powerful principle in Scripture. It is actually the beginning part of the day. It is the environment in which everything is birthed. So God was always there to do that.
Yes.
But after he stepped away, they walked.
Yes.
So those relationships were continuous.
So you're
They were
talking about
cyclic.
a priority
Yes.
in your relationship, that
Yes.
before anything,
Yes.
God is
Yes.
in our lives. When we
Absolutely.
sit like that as a couple.
Yeah. So the first issue is the source. Who created this garden? God.
God.
Who created everything in the natural? God. Who created us?
God.
Who put us here? God. It's important for us to find out why. Once we found out, we now work out
How to do that.
what needs to be done. So those two relationships were continuous.
Yeah.
This is what God has said. Oh, by the way, when I sat with God in the morning, this is what he was saying about that. Oh, so that's what it is. Okay, let's do it. The minute that conversation and gap
broken.
moved, another fellow came to have a conversation. And that's the problem point. That's
So,
why-
looking at that, you're saying that man will always have a spiritual conversation,
yes.
whether with God
Yes.
or with the enemy.
Yes.
So the question is, who are you having a conversation with?
Yes.
In your marriage, who are you walking with in the cool of the day?
Yes.
Who is it that is guiding or informing your next step in the natural?
Absolutely.
Wow, that's something. I think maybe, Eric, you can tell us something about, she said something about the relationship between you two,
Yes.
and of course having a baby.
Yes. Now, for the last 4 months, we've been very intentional for us to increase in terms of our relationship and not decrease because of the gift
Yeah.
of the baby coming into our space. And one of the key things that has been happening for me is as I relate with her, with our daughter, and I get a clear picture of who God is to me, because I can see the picture of how I am as a father
Yeah.
to her. And so the more I interact with our daughter, the more I know how God is to me as a father. So my picture and my relationship with God as a father, not
Yes.
as God, as a father, has really, increased.
Yeah.
And that has affected my relationship with my wife, because she's been saying of late, you've become more gentle,
Yeah.
you're more sensitive, and it comes, for me, I understand, because it comes from my vertical relationship with God.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So another question then. You say now that, of course, you've gone to the Father, you've understood your place, His place in your life, your place in the plans of God. How was it before you understood Him as Father?
Okay. Now, before I understood Him as Father, we had different priorities. We were busy people in our careers, trying to chase, careers, succeed, rise up, in our careers, put food on the table,
Yeah.
try, we were focusing more on externals.
Yes.
We need to have this kind of house, this kind of car, which is okay.
Yeah,
but in
but-
this environment, we need to have both internal, we need to thrive internally
Yes.
and externally. And so it's been a shift for us to build this relationship more and even increase the externals to it, and not, the other way around, where you are focusing more externally and you're crashing in our relationship. So we've been more intentional. I'm using that word a lot.
Over.
Intentional to.
I think it's a new word. I think you love it. Do you know how to spell it? Maybe you're talking intentional.
Yeah,
Big word, yes.
Yes. And Zileni, you can expound more on how it was before.
Okay, I think previously we were, as you said, we were busy chasing things. We were busy chasing the career. Me, I was in business, so we were busy, quote unquote, in the hustle. Every day there's this you need to do, there this targets and all that. And so even when we meet, most of our discussions were based on that.
Yes.
There's no, though we had very little discussions around our interaction with God. It was first, hey, have you done this? Have you done this? This needs to be paid for. We need to buy this. So now when we've now come to know God as a Father, first we realize and know His heart His heart is in a good place. He wants the best for us. Yes. And so one of the key verses that we've been living by is seek first the kingdom, yes, and all these things will be added. And so as we get to know God as a father, as he gets to reveal who he is to us, then he's working on our internals. He's working on us to be more loving to each other, more patient, more kind, not to just focus on ourselves, but also on the needs of other people. So as we do that, even in our other interactions, for instance, business or work, we're not looking to grow ourselves, but we're looking at how can we help the other person. Yes. And the net effect of that is increase. So the other time, before it was we want to increase ourselves, but now as we are interacting with the Father, as in our daily interactions, because of who we are in him, understanding our position, then increase is a byproduct. So it doesn't mean that now there's no increase. There's increase both internally and externally. Yeah.
And so something else that was happening before is it's like we were together, but everyone is living their own individual lives. And so there's a lot of blame game. You know, you didn't do this, you need to do this. You know, we are here because of this. Now our interaction and, you know, being intentional to walk and know God as a father has made us, you know, you cannot, you know, interact with God as a father and still, you know, your heart not to change and still keep blaming each other. And so we've grown in gentleness, in showing each other affection, in spending time with each other, which has caused us to even increase more.
That's a powerful point, because when you talk like that, sometimes you're looking and you're watching and saying, wow, you sound like you're from space. Yes. This is something that you don't just hope it will happen, but this is something that you intentionally do. You go to work, you work 8 to 5, and even during that time, you're thinking of, for me to build this relationship, the relationship between you and your wife, this is something that you have to consciously do. And I think for us, I mean, we've done this. Sometimes you always think it's normal for everyone, but how do you advise for couples watching on how to build that relationship?
I think first of the things to extract from this is right from the beginning. Bible, Jesus makes an allusion to the Pharisees. It says, from the beginning, it was not so. Male and female made he them. Yes. And divorce means division, means separation. Means, you see, we always think divorce in terms of when the divorce is final, judgment. No, the divorce is final means it is completed. The divorce has been in process a long time. Yani we've been divorcing, now we are divorced. All right? And so what is divorce? Diverse. Different vision, different picture, different environment, which is exactly what the devil needed from the beginning. If you can get that division in place, that's why Paul says, nothing, neither principalities nor powers, nor depth, nor height, nor with that one scripture talks about the entire elements of creation, both spirit, both seen and unseen. He says, none of those can separate me from the love of God. Meaning division is not a God factor. It's an enemy factor. So what was the story there? What's the key to what they are saying that was crucial? Understanding that doing life today in its normal environment is based on division. Doing any activity, whether career or the business, the element behind it is division.
So that we are talking from Babylon perspective, that the aim of Babylon is to separate, not to bring together.
And that means you have to consciously, as you navigate Babylon, see everything that seems to take away, and then you multiply the effect here. So that's basically what they did. They said the baby comes. What does that mean? Some hours have been taken. What do? I compensate.
Wow.
You see, I go to work, the hours are being taken. What do? I compensate. Why? Because all these other relationships are temporal. So if I allow them to take away too much, the day they no longer exist, we will be so far apart, nothing can be fixed. So because this is the permanent one, we are maintaining it, we're maintaining it with everything. So eventually, the day conflict comes, choose between that and this, that goes. That's the whole idea.
Yeah.
So what I would say to most couples is this: any activity you engage, whether business, whether career, whether ministry, come back and measure. How does it affect your oneness as a couple and your oneness with God?
Wow.
These are your measuring mechanisms. So don't tell me, is this good, is this bad?
No.
Don't tell me, should I do this, should I not do this? The only question I ask, as you engage that, has it taken away? Has it expanded the gap? Or has it shortened the gap?
Yeah.
That should be the core question.
That is something important to check when you are saying, is this bringing us together with to each other, or is it also creating a gap between me and God?
Yes.
And I think that's, I mean, it's so easy. Anyone can do that. I mean, anyone can just sit back and just say, you know what? Since I started engaging in this, it's actually taking us away.
Simple.
We are not enemies.
Yes.
Remember that? We are not fighting,
Yeah.
but there's a gap.
Yes.
And if we allow this gap long enough, we will become strangers.
And I like
We're living
something
in the same
powerful
house.
that
Yeah.
Eric said. He said that when there is gaps, the blame game starts.
Yes.
You see the difference? The blame game starts. And I like what Zilani said, that the more, you know, if there's something we've emphasized in this series of the show, is returning to your father.
Oh, yes.
If there's something we've emphasized, now Zilani is bringing out an outcome, a very powerful outcome. She says he's become more sensitive. He's become more, what does it mean? She's basically saying you're becoming more like God.
Like the Father.
You're spending more time with him, and therefore you're taking on his nature.
Wow.
When you take on his nature, the impact, I can feel it. I can live with it. It's my reality.
Yeah.
It changes my atmosphere. Women, think about the weight of what Nzelani is saying. That we all know when you give birth to a child, the attachment.
Oh, yes.
But the power of being able to say, I need to put my husband above this child. That means something is developing here. Is it good or bad? It's very good. The child will grow up valuing this.
Oh, yes.
Not seeing a division, but seeing a combined
oneness,
reality in the environment. And this becomes our judgment point. And then you added something absolutely amazing. See, why did the devil create division? Because he does something very smart. When he divides the two, he also divides you with God. Are you seeing the maths? When he divides you with God, he disconnects you from provision and protection.
Wow.
When he removes provision and protection, you now start chasing provision and protection.
Yeah.
To do that, you have to separate. So what happens, and I'll ask every couple who has gone that way, did you get the provision that you are chasing? You didn't. You're chasing the wind.
Yeah. It's like it keeps going. The closer you get to it, it's like it moves. Yes.
But the principle is, this is the trick. It's not provision you can't get. That's not the issue. The issue is the more you chase it, the farther away you move. This is the real story. So provision is always pushed one step away to pull you away from each other and from God in the name of getting provision for each other. By the time you get it, you don't have an each other for which you are chasing the provision.
Wow.
And a question I would have to Pastor Charles is there's in the same scenario of spending time and the man being connected, there is an aspect of the enemy talking to the wife and attacking from the wife. Could you shed some more light regarding that?
This is what happens. Many times the query that the enemy brings is a protection provision query.
Yes.
Very simple. Did God say you should not eat? Meaning you're being deprived of something.
Yes.
This reality you're having, you're being deprived. Do something about it. Act on it. Woman, don't you know? Do something. Look, Adam is hanging around. Get something, give him something to eat. Move away. So the enemy's intent is not even provision. The enemy intent is aware of one thing. This is the story of creation. For when God wanted to create fish, he took it out of water. When God wanted to create grass, he took it from the land. When God anything. So when God wanted to create man, he took man from himself. Now the easiest way to kill man is not to shoot him.
Yeah.
Just unplug him from God. And everything goes out of order. So the enemy's intent is unplugging. But he offers what God offered And he says the only way to do this is to unplug. So when you unplug, you think you're getting when you are losing. And that only happens, and the reason the enemy, this is my perspective, the reason the enemy was able to talk to Eve is because Adam stopped talking.
So they're not talking, and she needs to talk. So she hears from another source.
When you're not talking, continuously telling your wife what God is saying, where God is going, she needs to hear. She was designed to hear. She will hear. The enemy will say, Adam, you're too busy to talk, okay? Let me do the talking. And therein the problem comes.
Wow, Zilani, maybe you can tell us something when on the same,
Well, actually, I'm resonating with what Pastor Charles is saying, because as women, we always find things gravitate towards us. We're always hearing, always hearing. And I think for me, I'm extroverted, so I have quite a number of friends, so I'm always hearing. So as we continued listening to the word, connecting with what the Father is telling us, he always senses. I'll say something and he says, who are you with today? What did you discuss?
Like he can pick in the spirit.
He can pick it.
This is not our sound.
And he's like, this is the direction we are going. And sometimes he's firm with me, but when I look back, I'm like, he's actually right. And so in all that, in terms of hearing and to the voice that different voices and what he's telling me, of course, in relation to the Father, I choose to put away my feelings, because the minute I engage the feelings gear, then I'm done. But now if I engage with what the Father is doing and what my husband is telling me, and understanding that my husband is actually my head, we are one. So there's no way he wants to attack me or finish me. No, he has the best interests for me. The same way my Father has the best interests for me. So I just take that word. Sometimes it's a bitter word. I sit on it, I meditate on it, and eventually I say, you know what, you're right, let's go that direction.
And that word, of course, taking you to a place called oneness.
Yes.
A place of oneness.
Exactly.
Maybe just briefly before we wind up this session, you can tell us what you understand and how you go about oneness as a couple.
Yes, so for us, oneness has been a point of us agreeing on issues and walking, as one, as one. So for example, let's pick an example. It would be, what is our position, what is kingdom position, regarding bringing up our daughter. So we discuss, of course the Bible is our reference, and we agree this is the way we are choosing to go. In terms of finances, how do we choose to give? How do we choose to spend our money? What is our priority? So there are things we, agree together, and then we use it as a guide to do things that way, and God honors that.
Wow, that is powerful. And I think what we're talking about, couples, is what's your relationship? How do you intentionally build your relationship? How do you grow your oneness? How do you walk together as one with the aim of fulfilling what God has called you to be? And I think also, still, this calls on the man, like Eric said, to be intentional in how you relate with your wife, and also bringing her into the things of God, bringing her into that which God has already shown you. This is 2 as 1 couples. Stay with us as we continue tracking. God bless you.